We have Hawkeye royalty, and on Max Cooper's Mount Rushmore, the Paulsen twins are with us. So, I guess first question to you guys is the short hair to stay, or would you guys ever grow it out again?
Oh, I I think it could be on the docket at some point down the line. We're actually getting ready to take our take our firefighter one test here in the next couple of weeks. So we actually have to be clean shaven for that when we test out. So we're actually going to shave our beards for the first time in 10 years. It feels like. Uh,
High school
I think
wrestling.
I think we're both going to keep our mustaches though.
Yes, you have to.
Nah, the long hair will probably make an appearance back. Anytime I see somebody with it, I'm just like, I gotta go back to those days. But man, it was a miserable chore to have that in football when you're taking your helmet on and off and on and off, and we didn't care. We were kind of trying to be like Willie Nelson. So,
Well, in like in the new style helmets, like they're just like a zipper, right? So you zip it and you zip your hair up into it, and you can't zip it out, so you just rip your hair out. That's first world problems. But
so, what did you guys think of Shot just kind of copying the look as you guys left? Basically, he turned into a mini you guys.
I say anybody who wants to embrace it can. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
like for us, our mom was our main barber, right? So we came to college and we're 500 miles away from home, and we didn't go home often, so we didn't get our haircuts. And then we just kept not getting our haircuts and grew it out. And there's some awkward stages here and there, but once you get it grown out, it's great. And anybody who wants to embrace it can, because it's a lot of work to maintain it and to make it look presentable. Go for it.
Yeah, and you got to think about it. It wasn't just Shooter. I think about we had the long hair, and we also had TJ Hawkinson in our class.
Yeah.
And he went on to grow his hair out. We played with George Kittle. He was pretty much bald while we were going through college. Then he gets to the league, and then he grows all his hair out. So it's like, if you can, well, especially at Iowa when we were going through it, if you can grow your hair out and kind of own it and bear like all the shit that we got, it's something.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I know that firsthand because when I came in, I had hair down to here. I couldn't. I tried to bear it. I just couldn't because I got so much shit. And then I got put on like the gold card, and then the hair with the gold card combo was never good. And there was really I had to show my hand and freaking cut it. It was tough. You guys held your ground.
Yeah.
And
I remember Sam Brinks had it too, but that's probably the first time I really got yelled at by Coach Doyle was we were doing a circuit in the summer, and I don't have good hearing out of my left ear because of tractor pulls and shooting guns when I was growing up. So I'm a little bit hard of hearing. And at the far end of our complex, our indoor, there's the fan, right? And during the summer, that fan will run to kind of circulate out some of that hot air that's hung up in the ceiling. Well, we were doing that, and Coach Doyle was saying, he was giving us a cadence like 1 up, 1, 2, and we were doing barbell bent over rows. And I was doing that, and my hair was in my face, and I was trying to look and trying to hear, and that fan was so dang loud, I got off rhythm. And oh my gosh. Coach Doyle came over to me, and I'm telling you, he was spitting on me and saying, Levi, God dang it. And there's a bunch of expletives, but pretty much he was ripping my ass and saying, if you just cut your damn hair, you'd be able to hear. I was like, no.
Not spitting on you intentionally.
Not spitting on intentionally. But it's got its consequences. It definitely puts a target on your back.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's you kind of show up, and if you're not high and tight cut, and ready to roll, you're in for a whole rude awakening.
Be ready.
Yeah, be ready. Be ready. So you guys said you're training for. So you said stage 1 firefighter. Is that what you said?
Yep.
So
Yep.
what is the different stages entail as far as you're being on stage 1?
Yeah, well, I think we first got to back up. So Landon and I live in Kelowna, which is 20 miles south of Iowa City. Landon's wife now got a job at the U in kind of a niche position in the basement of the hospital doing nuclear medicine. So we wanted to be in a small town. He bought a house down here, and his house came up for sale, four houses up from him. And I'm like, I'll just buy it. I don't really know where else I'm going to go with my life. I got a job at the company I work for now, which is Neat, which is video conferencing. It's a remote position. All of us employees in the US are remote. So anyways, when the fire chief here in this town, which is about 2,000, maybe 2,500 people, found out that we were less than 2 miles away from the fire station and we worked remotely, i.e. we were home all day, every day, literally showed up in our backyard. And hopefully Landon comes back. But he showed up into our backyard and we were having a bonfire. And I'm like, who is this little bald guy? And he's a super good guy, great leader, funny, give him shit. I tell them that to his face. But who is this little funny bald guy coming up and talking to me? And I had like a couple beers around the fire or whatever because it was going into the weekend. It's like, here you guys are remote workers. Do you have any interest in being on the fire department here in town? I'm like, whoa. Like, I don't know what that entails. I have my own job. Like, if I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to commit to it. So I was kind of like a little bit standoffish at first. But then we had a serious sit-down conversation with our significant others, girlfriends at the time, and pretty much said, we think you'd be a great asset to our team here at the fire station. And we kind of signed on. So in order to be a volunteer firefighter in Iowa, you have to be certified and go through what is called Fire One. So that's the basic firefighting, understanding, rescue, medical, all of that that goes into being a firefighter. So yeah, we'll take our final test on March 18th to become actual certified firefighters, volunteers. So that's what that is.
That's awesome. That's freaking sweet. Okay. We just talked. Levi just gave us a rundown.
I heard everything. I heard it all. I heard the trash talk. I heard it all. But he is my neighbor, so I know where he lives.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so go ahead.
What's the farthest you guys have lived apart your entire life, or like longest you've gone without each other?
Farthest we've lived apart is where we live right now. 3 houses away from each other. Same cul-de-sac. Longest we've been apart, I don't know, probably
like when we were first born, I would say.
2 or oh yeah, for when we were born for sure. Levi aspirated some fluid in his lungs and he had to get life flighted to a couple hospitals, and we were away from each other for a month or couple weeks. But in our adulthood, we've only been apart from each other for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe.
That's wild.
That's so cool.
So
was it like surreal growing up? So you guys grew up in Iowa, like Northwest Iowa. Was it surreal coming from like a smaller town going to Iowa City? Like you got.
I'd say yes and no.
What is it?
Let me answer that first. I know exactly where you're going.
Yeah, I lost it right there. My bad.
No, I know exactly where you're going with that, Jack. So was it surreal? I think yes and no. One, because Northwest Iowa is so, where we grew up in our small town, very conservative in a lot of different ways, not just politically, but fiscally, and in their views. And it's not diverse at all. So when we got to the University of Iowa, that was the biggest change. Was like, oh my gosh, there's different colored people out here. It's not just movies that you see people like acting different, practicing different religions. Like that's like the real deal. And it was so eye-opening to me and Landon. We've got a couple of different stories on that, but I think in regards to football, yeah, when the largest town that's near us, which was 20 miles away in Mobile, Sioux City, is, roughly 80,000 people. And you walk swarm out onto the field to 75,000 people jam packed into one stadium, confined within, half a mile square radius. It's, yeah, you can't even fathom that. Can't even fathom that. Largest city that you know of, take every person out of that house, put it in this. Pretty crazy. Brandon, you got anything?
Is my feedback bad, or can you hear me?
Yeah, we can definitely hear background noise, but
it's okay. That's fine.
I'd say the feedback that I have on that is we really didn't even watch college football growing up, so it was like, yeah, it was surreal because we just like we didn't know, right? We didn't know what we didn't know, right? And then all of a sudden we're sophomores in high school and we get offered by Iowa, and we had all this stuff happening so fast in the recruiting process. And so it was just like kind of took us by surprise how fast it all happened. And I mean, a dream come true, really. I mean, just looking back is such an incredible opportunity, and wouldn't have done it any other way.
Okay, so going off that, how it was kind of an eye opener when you got there. Do you guys have any like particular moments that when you got on campus, you're like, okay, this is different. This is not what we're used to.
Yeah, man. I'll start off, bro, and then you can run with it. I think for us, the craziest part was like we came to Iowa football, and we came into the building, and me and Levi were like, oh my gosh, this place is awesome. Like, it is so diverse, right? There are people of all colors, and we're so interested in learning about where anybody came from, right? What their upbringing was. We just always ask questions and are curious, how their upbringing was different from ours, and then you see people on the team who come in and they're basically saying the opposite. They're like, oh my gosh, this program in this city is so white. It's just full of white people, and I'm just like, I don't know if we're living in the same city or not, but this seems like a really diverse city to me. So that was just super eye-opening for me, and something that we really embrace. I mean, it's just Iowa City Johnson County is Southeast Iowa is such a special place. I kind of consider it like I've never been to Austin, Texas, but I've heard it's kind of a hip little town. I feel like Iowa City is kind of similar in that realm. It's just like a kind of a hip town, but just super interesting people and entrepreneurs from all over. And that was so eye-opening from the beginning.
Yeah.
For me, when I got onto campus, I'm not 100% certain on that question. I think I keep going back to what Landon was saying, talking about being curious and understanding where our teammates, like getting to know our teammates, right? And building trust with our teammates, and just understanding how some of those guys were raised. Like, we're from a small town, and then to go talk to the people from the Chicagos, the Detroits, the Dallases, the, Tampas, the Miamis of the world, and how they grew up, it's just really, it's like the stuff that you only saw in movies, and they were like telling it as it was their life. Like I'm talking, I remember a vivid conversation with wide receiver. I can see him, Germanic Smith, Germ. And I remember him talking about, bro, it's serious. He's like, you do not go to that next street over. You do not do that. If that ain't your territory, you'll get shot up. I'm like no joke.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, dude, no joke. I got friends, I got family that have died because, they stepped out of bounds and where they were living. So I think when I heard that, I'm just like, okay, this is a melting pot. This is country boys from Iowa, and this is people from the biggest cities that the United States has to offer. So I think that's the biggest eye-opening moment for me.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know what's cool about that? I talked about this with a ton of people, and everyone, the number one question is like when I say, yeah, like I went to Iowa, and they're like, what is there to do in Iowa? And it's like, you know what the best part is? Nothing. There's absolutely nothing to do in Iowa. And that's the greatest part about it because, like you said, it's such a melting pot of people from just different parts of the country having different upbringings. And you all come to this place that there is nothing to do but get to know each other.
Be present.
Yeah, it makes you have to get to know the person next to you. And that's what was such a cool part about Iowa was you met people that were just completely different than you, and you became so close in like a year or two. It's like you wouldn't like if you were sitting in your hometown, it would have never been like that. But the fact that you came to Iowa State to play football, all with a common goal, like it's such a special thing and it's such a cool thing, and that's why I loved Iowa because it's like you're right, there is nothing to do, but you know what's great about that? We had to figure out what to do together because there was nothing to do. And by figuring out what to do, you bonded with people, you became really close to them. And it's one of those the bonds like that you'll just never break. It's such a cool thing.
You want to play hand of euchre or
yeah, hey,
you want to play pepper?
Yeah, little pepper. It was
Well, and it's even prevalent now that we're in the real world as well. I'm in tech sales, right, and have kind of worked up into some larger accounts, and that's beside the fact. But the managers that I've had have kind of pushed me to like, hey, Levi, you should move to one of these larger metros. You're going to have more success. There's more out there to the world than small town Iowa. I'm like, yeah, but I also have hundreds of conversations within in any given month. And everybody's talking about, the Tesla that their neighbor has, getting a bigger house, this, that, and the other. It's like, here in Iowa, I'm content with this small little 2-3 bedroom ranch house and, really being immersed in the community that I'm in, right? I have everything I could have, in my backyard. Yeah, I can't go to Top Golf, but
you can make your own Top Golf in your backyard.
What?
So you can make your own Top Golf in your backyard.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it was growing up.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's definitely sweet.
Jack,
then you got something?
No, I don't. I think Levi said it perfectly, man. Iowa is. It's an interesting place. I said, you just come see it for yourself, right? And if you don't believe that Iowa nice is a thing, come see our people.
Oh my God.
Like you walk on a street and somebody says hi to you and you're just like taken aback,
Yeah.
I remember being in Chicago for the first time and I'm telling people hello on the streets, and good afternoon and good morning, and they're giving me dirty looks. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm just saying good morning,
Right.
And it is a real thing, man. And we have great people here. And we find stuff to do.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
That's funny. Even at work right now, like our territory just got switched to like Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois. So, everyone's calling on people from Iowa. And we're used to like calling around the South. So it landed, we were talking about it before. I live in Dallas now. Everyone's like, the South's the only place on earth. Everyone's nice down here. And people are calling people in Iowa, and they're like, "Why is everyone so freaking nice on the phone?" You're like, "It's the Midwest nice, not the South."
there's such a difference between like it's the Southern hospitality,
Yes.
but it's not like the Iowa nice is a real thing, and the Southern hospitality thing is a real thing too. Like people are very welcoming like down here. Landon, I live in Charleston now, so it's it's like people from like really old money, like very welcoming, like they'll welcome you to come and go fishing, hunting, like whatever it is. And they're nice people. Don't get me wrong, but like Midwest nice, like, it's just different. It's just it's more, especially. I mean, I think Iowa's like significantly different than other Midwest states. Like I lived in Michigan, Wisconsin my whole life, and Iowa's I think the most nice, but it is so different. Like just it's the people there are just like it is a sense of community, and everyone's just so kind. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I just got one comment too. If you guys hear like a monster truck like roaring in the background or like an airplane starting to take off, that is Landan. He is in a car.
Hey, he's making the most of it. I respect it.
Yes.
Dude, Levi, you know what's funny? That I forgot which one of you guys it is because I asked one of you guys a while ago because like you posted. And another thing about Iowa is like I remember when I first got there, I'm like, this place is literally just cornfields. And I'm like, this kind of sucks. And like I lived in Wisconsin, which is like very similar, but there's a lot of lakes in Wisconsin. So it was a little more scenic.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, dude, like the sun sets in Iowa, like the sun rises in Iowa, a nice day in Iowa. It's like unbeatable. It was one of you guys. I asked you guys, you posted like a picture like in the morning, like during a run. Which one of you guys posted says like +1?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, it was you, Landon. I asked you for one of the pictures you took in the morning. It was the background of my phone for a while. It was such a sweet picture.
I love that, man.
Sick. And then Levi, you just posted. It was a birthday shout out.
To Rage.
Yeah, to Rage. And the last picture is like a sunset, like on like a back road, a dirt road, and like just cornfields. Coolest freaking picture like ever, dude. Like just there's something I remember telling my parents, like when I first got to Iowa, I'm like, this place, I hate it. I can't stand it at all, dude. And it took me until I was beginning my junior year. And I remember like I think I was driving back to Iowa. I'm like, it was the first time I was excited to go back to Iowa. I'm like, this place is freaking awesome, dude. I love it. I love it. The people are awesome. Like it, dude. I just love Iowa with all my heart. It's so much fun, and it's such a great place.
Amen.
Amen, dude.
So this isn't as Midwest, but we were prompted to ask it. This is specifically asked by Spencer on this one. The legendary Paulsen crawfish boils.
Oh, so much fun, dude.
What were your favorite memories? How did you guys start doing that? And like, was it like a lineman quarterback thing or the whole team or?
I'll start it off. So we lived at the same house right off of West Benton, maybe southwest of the stadium, a mile as a crow flies for the four years, I think, that we lived off campus. We lived in that Streb house. But anyways, my first spring break, I went down to Gulf Shores, Alabama, where my girlfriend has some relatives. And we get to talking once we get down there or whatever. They're like, you want to have some crawfish? You want to do crawfish boil? I'm like, sure. I mean, Landon, well, myself, I mean, we're 315-pound guys. It's like we're not partial to, we're not a fan of too many. We're not partial. We're not picky eaters. Let me just say that. We're large in charge. So they pick up the phone and literally call this restaurant. Come to find out it was a gas station, just like ordering pizza at Casey's General Store. Yeah, can I order 60 pounds of crawfish? And the reason that we didn't do an actual crawfish boil was because, we had limited time and they didn't have, all the fixings to kind of put it together, because I think we surprised them on how fast we were getting down there. But anyways, they got the crawfish, picked it up from this Casey's General Store, so to speak, and come back home with it, throw it all down on the table, and I'm like, whoa. It was just unbelievable because it was so spicy, and the combination with that and the beer was so good. And they're like, yes, this isn't like the real deal, though. Like, I want you to understand this is not the real deal. The real deal is you'd have 30, 40, 50 people together. You'd have this giant pot with this broiler coming up underneath of it. And it'd be this day-long party. You watch, sports if they're on, etc. And I'm like, that is so cool. But I just love the thought process behind it. So when we came back from spring break, I told Landan, I said, this crawfish boil, it's good eating, good food. And I think we should do it here. And so the next spring rolls around, it's spring ball, and Landan and I bought all the stuff for it. And we're like, I feel like our Streb house was always just kind of like the place where people stop by. We always told people we had an open door policy. So if we're driving home to or from class or whatever, just come on in and talk and grab a coffee, whatever you want to do. Just come hang out, come chill. And I mean, we had people stop by all the time. So anyway, it was like, yeah, guys, after spring ball, after the spring game, we're going to throw a crawfish boil. It's going to be about $10 a person. If you guys want to come, it should be a riot. So watched a couple of YouTube videos, and the first one was unbelievable. We actually held it at Worf's house, but it was previous to that. It was Josie Jules, Bo Bowers. I think Kittle lived there for a little bit.
Ike Bugger.
Yeah.
Ike Bugger. But it was just a hit. I'm like, we got to do this every day after this because it's unbelievable. But I don't know, Landan, if you have any. I have some thoughts in my mind on some experiences and some things that happened at the crawfish boil. But what are your thoughts, Landan?
Yeah, I just think that first one was such a hit. We had so many people that were just like, we might not have known how to cook it the best the first time, but people were just like, the experience and the environment was so fun. People immediately were just like, I have never liked fish or seafood in my life, and I freaking love crawfish. You guys changed my life. Here's $100 bill towards the next one, and the next crawfish boil and whatnot. And just a super fun, interesting event. Like I feel like our second one was the best one we ever threw. That was at 56 Arbery. And man, that was a hell of a party.
56
like, everybody
Arbery
had so much fun.
Yeah. You got to tell them about 56 Arbery.
Yeah, 56 Arbery is where Jake Gervais and
Parker Hesse.
Oh, that's such a great. I love that house. That was like.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we're losing you, bro. But yeah, Jake Gervais, Parker Hesse was there for certain. And I think they had a couple baseball, maybe a basketball player or two there. But we had it in that backyard, and just the element was perfect. And it was like in a secluded neighborhood. I remember Jake Gervais was like, this one is going to be like 3 or 4 times the size of the first one that we had last year. So he like literally made like handwritten notes and sent them to all of his neighbors that, encircled his house. He's like, guys, this might get out of hand, but we're just celebrating, post spring ball. So it'll only be for a night. Come join us if you want.
Yeah, and the other part about that was Jake's dad owns a few Checkers restaurants, hot dog shops. I've never been. And so he got a pallet of hot dogs, and I will never forget, we're grilling them, and they were just chucking from the top of the deck, chucking hot dogs to anybody who wanted them. like during the crawfish boil. It was freaking hilarious.
Dude, you know what sucks? I forgot why I couldn't go to the second one. Because I only went to one, and it was me and Spence talked about this, dude. It was when we talk about top 5 most fun days or / nights of college, that is in there every single time. It was effing freezing. It was, and that was at the West Benton house, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And so they had I remember because it was who was with me. I think it was my buddies Colin, my friend Colin, and I forgot who else was with me. But then Ryan's buddies were in town too. But Ryan had to stay back because one of his buddies was like hungover as shit and he was like throwing up and stuff like that. So it was my friend Colin. It was me, my friend Colin. Then it was Spencer, Nico, and Riley. And then it was like I remember there's a picture of like us 4. I think JB was in it. And then Coy was in it. And I remember seeing Tristan there. It was you guys, dude. So you walked in. There was it was like enclosed, like see-through, not tent, but like, was it a tent?
Yep.
Yeah.
Canopy.
So, yeah, canopy. And it was like 40 degrees, pouring rain. And I remember I was over there in like socks, Birkenstocks, like sweatpants, and a huge sweatshirt. I'm like, dude, this is gonna be miserable. And I remember walking in there and I got a beer and we're sitting around and it turned into like we started playing like flip cup and like eating all the crawfish and like there was like sausage, corn, carrot, like dude. And it turned into like one of the most fun days of college I've ever had. And it's like that's the kind of shit where it's like the weather is horrible.
Horrible.
The company was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I remember I think peak moment for me while I was there was Tristan Wirfs started chain smoking with my grandma. It was unreal. I look over and they're like over here doing one of these numbers and he's just ripping a cig. I'm like, okay, this is good.
Dude, it was, just so fun. Like and I've heard several stories about we'll save it till we end this one, but I've heard plenty of stories that were very funny about it. And I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. I wasn't even there for it, but I'm sure there's plenty. But there's one particular I heard about that. It was hilarious. Oh my gosh, though. What a freaking
Landon, were you about to tell one there?
Yeah, there's some moments during the crawfish boils that probably should never be talked about, like without supervision, because and I just want to be clear to the audience, like it was like nothing ever got out of hand. Like it never got out of hand. Everybody was super respectful. But it's just like some things that were said at the crawfish boil, like it was just a time to let loose, right? And a time for, everybody to express themselves and have fun. And that's what happened. Every single time we had it. It was wonderful, man.
And you have to think about, I think what really like made it what it was is the fact that we just got done with like, it felt like 30 days straight of just like grind and but spring ball, right? So nobody's really let loose in those days, and then the day after it's like so this just rage or darty pretty much. It was fun.
That's so hype. I'm trying to think when you guys left, because the crawfish boil it kind of dwindled out. Dude, I remember I forgot when it was. I went to Gervais's house once, and I somehow got in. I was with me, Gervais, Ben Neiman, like Bo, Kevin Ward, Josie showed up, Easley, Don. Like it was just a wild group, and we had a riot. Like that house was so. Freaking Kells was there. Dude, it was just so much fun. That was the first time I'd been to that house. And I remember going in the backyard that day, and now I understand why that second crawfish boil was so much fun, because that is a great yard for it.
Great yard.
Such a good yard.
Yeah.
Okay, so
oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm leading into something else, so go ahead and finish it.
No, I was talking about the backyard. I just remember at one point, Landon and I were so focused on making the actual crawfish. I remember just looking over, and I saw two things. I saw Jake Newberg underneath the deck, and he's pissing. He's got his wiener out, and he's pissing, and he's. I'm like, look at him. I'm like, what the heck is he doing? And it looks like he's like tilting his wiener up and like trying to like shoot as high as he can up on this brick wall. And I looked over there a couple times else during the night, and he's doing the same thing. He's like, oh yeah, beat my old record. I'm like, oh, that is just so Jake Newberg. And then the second thing that I remember is it was like a 5-hour beer darts game. Huge. It was huge. It was like probably 40 people. Huge. I don't know how much beer was wasted and beer was drank, but yeah, people definitely had a lot of fun there. But
you know what's wild? So I was like, I try to explain games we played in Iowa here, because I mean everyone has the beer pong, the flip cup. What did you guys call it? Remember how you get a bunch of cups in a circle? Not in a circle.
Rage cage.
So you call it a rage cage. We call it boom cup.
Like that's good.
They call it like rage cage. And then I always tell them about beer darts, and no one down here knows what that is. And I remember there was actually one girl that I forgot. I was in a group of people, and I wasn't even like, she was kind of like outside of it. And I was talking about beer darts, and everyone's like, yeah, I have no idea. And she goes, are you talking about like beer darts, like you sitting around a circle with a beer in front of your feet? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I'm like, where are you from? She's like, I think she said like Wisconsin. I'm like, that's why you know that. It's like everyone down here everyone's like, isn't that dangerous? I'm like, yeah. But who cares? Like any drinking game's dangerous when you're drinking.
So
I guess metal tips darts probably a little more dangerous than the other ones.
Yeah.
But oh my, like we have like there's days where it's nice down here. I'm like, we should play beer darts, and everyone's like, yeah. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. Like that's like the most fun one. You just sit around and talk and just chuck a dart the whole time.
It's so high risk, high reward.
High risk, high reward. And it's usually high reward, but there is a couple of times where it's like, oh,
right.
Well, you get stuck in the toe or something.
Beer and darts, nothing has ever gone wrong. You're in the clear there.
Yeah, it's man, it's a good time. So okay, so you guys are like, you said 15 minutes outside of Iowa City?
Yep.
So how often do you make it back to Iowa City for like games during the year? 0.
Nope, I have not been back to a game
at all.
Since you graduated?
Since we graduated, have not been back.
Is there a reason why, or is it just you just haven't gotten to it?
I think for me personally, I think it just plays back into, we started getting recruited in 8th grade, 8th grade, when we started like put ourselves out there and go to training camps to become football players. And we were so focused on football. Landon's going to join on his laptop.
Yeah.
We were so focused on football that we didn't really have time to truly do our other passions in terms of hobbies.
Right.
And this is the first part of it, right? So now that when we got done with football, it's like opened up all this free time. Like we have free time to do the stuff that we love that we didn't get to do in high school, right? Hunt, fish, trap, like do all these outdoor activities, which is what Landon and I like. We'll still watch the games every now and again with friends and stuff, like in our living room, but just no real like desire to want to go back. And then the second part of that is I still had friends playing, and the Iowa faithful, I'd say 95% of them are good, but just the fact that I still had friends playing and I heard what was getting chirped over my ear when I was on the sidelines or sitting on the bench taking a break. And I just don't think I'd be able to do that with my friends playing. Like if somebody called Petrus, a piece of shit or something, I literally think I would turn around and assault that person. Just because he's my bro. Like, do not talk about my quarterback like that.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know what he's going through, and no one knows what he's going through. So just let him be. He's a kid, makes mistakes. He's going to do his best for the team at any given time, and he's going to give his full effort. So that's kind of why I was like, I haven't had any desire to really go back. I think we will eventually, but I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah, I think it'll be. Man, it'd have to be a special occasion for me to go back. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Like, I mean, maybe when we have kids, if we have kids, then we'll take our kids, and do some of the Hawkeye Legacy events and whatnot.
Right.
Like, I'm telling you, the Hawkeye Legacy, what those guys do is
it's phenomenal,
man.
It's phenomenal.
Like that's better than anything I've ever seen. Like that is such a nice thing for former players.
Yeah.
Right? And their families. Like they are so generous with their time and so generous with the events that they put up. I just think it's freaking incredible. And it's just one of those things, that just sets, our program apart from everyone else.
It is 100%. My cousin was a walk-on from Michigan State, and I remember last year he was telling me that one of his buddies they were trying to get him in charge of starting a legacy thing. It's like, dude, you guys are just starting that. Like, we've been rolling for about many years now. Like
literally been rolling
many years. And I mean, it's just that is the cool thing about Iowa Faithful is anyone who's played here, any alumni that's played here is very, very, very willing to help out. And like these guys have been talking about, we have legacy events as players. I think freshman, sophomore year, it's optional. Is that right? Or do they still make you go? I don't remember.
You go?
They make you. I don't know. It kind of just depends on what year you are, but there are some of them where it's mandatory that you have to go, depending on what grade you are, and just depending on what event it is. But they bring in a bunch of former alumni who are working, and kind of just give you a rundown on like what their job is, how they got into it, how they can help you out if you need help, advice on how to find what you want to do. It's phenomenal. It's a great thing they do. And then once they'll have that every once in a while, and then they have legacy events, which are the Fridays before games, where they'll bring back everyone's families and have like game nights and like a bunch of like stuff you can do, a lot of socializing,
tailgate,
tailgating, a bunch of but yeah. I mean, for example, I remember I met I know Chuck Hartley through Lauren Hartley because she dates Henry Marquez, who we're all good friends with. And I went to his tailgate this year with Henry. It was me, Henry, and Kerner. And I don't know. I'm pretty sure I told this story, but I mean, we ended up meeting Zach Johnson. And like Zach Johnson went to Iowa, and like we went to introduce ourselves. And he's like, "Yeah, I know you guys are." Like, and it's like that's pretty surreal. Like he's won the Masters, and
that's so dope.
It's pretty cool. But like, just like I remember I had a couple beers in me talking to Chuck, and I was like, he just asked me what I'm doing. I was like, I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm going to Charleston. I don't know what I'm going to do. He's like, well, if you need any help, let me know. Like everyone is willing to help, and it's just it's such a great networking and legacy option we have. So it's great. It's such a cool thing that they do, and they do a great job with it. So
man,
yeah, it's sweet.
So would you guys ever throw a crawfish boil for a legacy event?
Oh, I think the seed has kind of been planted. I mean, we've talked about it, but nothing has been put into writing. at this.
We didn't go and play in the NFL, so we're not loaded like a bunch of other people. And to like throw a crawfish boil, it probably would cost, and I'm sure we could get funds from the legacy group. It'd probably cost like $650-$750
Yeah.
to throw a crawfish boil with 40, 50 people. Like that's how much money we're putting down to be able to have a crawfish boil for us after the spring game, which is why we had the $10 or $15 cover to eat the crawfish.
I mean, and then you do the math and you think about a tailgate, like how many people would be at a tailgate like that? 150, multiply it times 3.
But the answer is yes. We'd for sure do that, Jack. And we're actually spinning one up for all of our friends here in Kelowna this year, bringing her back.
Oh, let's go.
That's like a bucket list item for like anyone listening now is like, damn, I want to go to a Paulsen crawfish boil.
Wait, what week do I have to be in Kelowna?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it is
airport.
Yeah, for anyone listening, it's probably the greatest experience you ever have in your life.
Yeah, if you just want to provide your address and the date and time, we'll just tweet it out after this.
Yeah, seriously. That could be a good reason for you guys to come back for like a freaking tailgate in general.
That's another big thing. So you guys haven't experienced a tailgate then if you've never been back.
Never have.
Nope.
Isn't that crazy? All of our friends here in town like grew up going to the games, right?
Yeah.
So, dude, you guys got to experience it one time. Got to do this, got to do that. Like, we probably will eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
From an outsider's perspective, I would say tailgating is like one of the best things at Iowa that you'll ever do. But everyone who's ever gone to a game there, if you could run out of that tunnel, you would take that opportunity over any tailgate. So, I mean, you guys hit the peak. So tailgating is a little lower than running out of that tunnel.
I can be 100% honest with you. I went to my first 2 tailgates ever this year, and I'd say tailgating's here. Crawfish boil is 100% up here.
Really?
Yes.
Let's go.
What about if you combine the two?
That's what I was going to come to. I was going to say it could give you a reason to go back to a game and tailgate if you threw a crawfish boil for like former players.
You think we could get some of the men on Melrose listeners to join it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
100%.
We'll get it. We'll see if we can get a sponsor for it.
Exactly. Needle sponsor it. We'll do it.
Yeah.
We're in, dude. All right. This is happening. This football season, we got to make this happen.
I love it.
We'll try and get Fairway to sponsor it too.
Ooh, we need to talk to Werfs.
I know, dude. That is, you want to talk about a great sponsorship deal? Phenomenal. And you know what's even better? In the South, seafood's unbelievable. The meat sucks. It's really the fact that I'm so jealous of him that he's shipping in like Fairway steaks to Tampa, because like here it's very rare that you come across a good steak.
Well, when you go to a steakhouse, if it's a good steakhouse, it will list Iowa beef next to the steak. And that's the one that's the most expensive on there.
Hey, do you guys got any more hats?
Oh, yeah.
Bad medicine hats?
Please. I lost my bad medicine hat. I have no good hats here. And like, I remember I have my Paulsen, I think it's my Paulsen auctioneer hat in Michigan. I have that one still.
Okay.
But I need a bad medicine
hat. You got to get into that.
Well, I've been meaning to do that. I got to find them.
I got them in my basement. I'll send you guys.
Dude, please. And I will wear it every day. I don't think you realize. It is my favorite hat.
So you don't even know the story behind that, Jack. So we worked on we worked on a couple of different farmers' ranches in Northwest Iowa. I raised beef cattle, and one of them raised Wagyu beef. His name is Brad Feddersen, and Brad is a tremendous guy. He's a great business owner. His meat is sold at Fairway, Brad does have a speech impediment. And when Brad called in his first order of apparel, in particular hats, he said, I want my Feddersen beef logo on the front, and I want my name, Brad Feddersen, on the back. And the apparel company, his speech impediment is like kind of like a lisp. They thought he said bad medicine instead of Brad Feddersen. Brad Feddersen. So on the back of his hat, it says bad medicine, not Brad Feddersen. And it's on the back of all of his hats. So then it was just a joke going forward. So now every hat that he makes says bad medicine on the back.
And they're the coolest. They're the best hats. Oh, I'm fired up, dude. I need one so bad.
We got you. We got you. We'll get you one.
Yeah, they're good hats.
That's incredible. So you guys played with a lot of legends. This is another Spencer question for you guys. Favorite memories about just like an absolute beast. You guys played with Werfs, Lindy's in the NFL, Lark Jackson NFL. Like you guys played with some menaces out there in the trenches. What are some like favorite memories, whether it's practice, off the field, on the field, from like the greats that you guys played with?
Man, I don't know. I think my freshman summer, like right at the start of camp, we were in a team period, right? And so you go through your individual drills at the beginning of practice, and then you start, offense versus defense, ones versus twos or ones versus ones and twos versus twos, whatever. And I remember being on the sidelines and watching this guy, drop into coverage, and CJ Beathard rips a pass, and this guy literally jumps out of the sky and intercepts this ball. And I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. And I've never seen anybody as athletic as this guy and as detailed as this guy. And he went on to get hurt, right, and not play. And that was Drew Ott, right? And Drew Ott and Brandon Sheriff went back and forth with each other. But Drew was just a interesting, like, great friend, like just super interesting, fun character to be around. But man, if he wouldn't have got hurt, that is a force to be reckoned with. Like that is a creature. Like he was awesome to watch.
Max, no, you're talking about Drew still?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, but then, like in that same breath, right? I remember Sheriff, Drew Ott would go back and forth, and they would just beat each other up. Iron sharpens iron, kind of deal. And we didn't play with Sheriff, but I just remember like when we were getting recruited, like watching it and watching the film of those two going against each other in one-on-ones and whatnot. And they would bash each other's heads in. And then like looking at more film, there would just be like some clips where it'd be like, oh my gosh, Drew Ott is getting mowed off the ball. Like he is getting obliterated. And I was like, just kind of like sneakily, like nobody really noticed it, that he was getting his ass kicked. And he was getting his ass kicked by George Kittle, and it's just like one of those things where you're just like, you just don't even think like George is like that special. And then he's just like, does something super sneaky like that and gets his pad under your shoulder and just destroys you in the run game. Right. And then he can sit back and be a third protector, at tight end and be in pass protection or run a dime of a route, just those guys were, there's so many fun guys to watch, and I mean, as you get older, obviously when you're younger on the team, you're influenced by those older guys. And those were a couple of guys that I was just like, man, I really enjoyed watching them. And I'm telling you, man, I'm sure all of us who played can say like, hey, I could tell you this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy were crazy too. But those are the ones that stick out for me right away.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, everybody I mean, you can talk about worse all day long because he's just a freak of nature. I remember Drew too. Max, did you ever run outside with Anthony Nelson?
Oh yeah.
Like so,
That
like
was-
he would pretty much run with like the semis and sometimes maybe even scoot up and with the skills because he was just super efficient in his turns, had long legs, really in shape. That was pretty crazy. And I remember Drew Ott being the same way when we first got there. I mean, Drew would beat everybody by 15 yards on his cut 85s and 15 yards on his 60-yard shuttles. He really was a very talented individual. The this makes me laugh because the person that I think is just like freaky is kind of like it's Sean Welsh. But the thing about Sean Welsh is like he's not a big guy. He's an offensive lineman. Okay. He was a superb guard for Iowa for a lot of years. But the thing that really surprised me about Sean, and he'll never surprise you in the weight room, but I mean, this guy came in and I'm telling you, it was like a zombie when he came into wherever he was getting to. Whether he was getting taped, coming into the locker room. But I am telling you, the most consistent person on the practice field. The most consistent. Like, there was never a day where he had a bad practice. One-on-ones, which is probably one of the tougher drills that I think offensive linemen have to go through. Every single time he would stone somebody. Just, stone somebody, meaning a defensive lineman would try to rush the quarterback, and he'd just sit there and just kind of like, what are you doing? This is not a challenge. But I still remember that to this day. I'm like, how do you become so consistent? And I'm like this very ritual person, and I'm like trying to psych myself up and like listen to music before practice and watching all this film. And he just comes in like a zombie, goes out on the practice field and just performs day after day after day after day.
Well, you got to get Worthy's perspective at some point on Welsh.
Yeah, I know.
Man.
I remember, well, didn't Welsh have that? Didn't he have like that claw?
Yeah.
Like he was known for like he could, if someone rushed him, he could freaking just grab on him and just it was over.
Oh yeah,
so good.
He
You
was really good.
got to get Worth's perspective on him. Like when Worth first got called up to play, in a game, Sean was at guard. And Tristan's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I literally have no idea what to do. Sean's literally telling him every single play what to do. Just block this guy. You draw a line straight in front of you, and you look at everything outside of you. And if anything comes in there, you just take the one who's most dangerous. In just the simplest terms. And Tristan, like, will still to this day, like, attribute his success to, Sean showing him the light, when he first went in there.
And then the only other person, and this is not just like freakishly athletic, but I think another person that was just super consistent was TJ Hawkinson, and he was consistent in all aspects of his game, including like diet and sleep. I mean, you just talk about a guy that, and I admire that, like, because it freaking takes hard work to stay consistent on a diet, especially when you walk through a buffet line with 10 different entrees to choose from, right? And he's just chicken, salad, no bun, no carbs, like little carbs. And I'm like, wow, like for you to be that mature throughout your entire, look at as Landon's shoveling in French fries in his mouth.
Hey, you're done with football. You don't need it. Who cares?
But anyway, those guys are pretty good freaks.
Yeah, dude. I actually do remember that. I remember going over to, because I used to go over to like Keith and TJ's house all the time because they live like super close to us. And I remember TJ would only be eating pork grinds. And I'm like, and like at the time, now I actually think pork grinds are like phenomenal. I love pork grinds.
So good.
So good. But like I thought that was why he was eating them. But then I remember him telling me that they had like significantly less like fat and like calories and like chips. And I'm like, that's pretty sweet. So then I started eating way more pork rinds after that. And I was like, this is sweet. Okay. So going off of the football aspect, like the ability aspect, what year, meaning as a lineman room as a whole, which year do you think the most fun was?
Oh, that's got to be one of our first 2 years. Easy.
For
And
sure.
like, I'm trying to think. So who was in your room at that time?
First of
Brian-
all, Brian Ferentz.
Who?
Brian Ferentz was our coach. That's the first thing.
Oh,
The first 2 years, Brian Ferentz was our coach. So by default, we also had Max DeFranco as a coach as well. And for those of you that don't know Max, he's one of our equipment managers and has been for a super long time.
Him and Brian went to high school together.
Him and Brian went to high school together. But those first 2 years, I think were the funnest for us just because the offensive line room was, and nothing against Coach Paulsen, right? But it was a completely different coaching style. It was a lot more high strung. Max is like, oh yeah.
Paulsen was out of control. I love him. Love him to death.
But also, Paulsen was coming from the OC position, and he'd never really coached offensive line play, especially how Iowa coaches offensive line play. So that was tough for us. We've already had 2 years with arguably the best coach in the building, we think. And he came in and we were he was a good coach, right? And he knew how to get the most out of us, but it was a completely different vibe. But those first 2 years, to answer your question, I would honestly say that first year, our Rose Bowl year, so that's when we went 12-2 and played in the Big Ten championship. That was probably some of the best offensive line play that I saw. And maybe some of it came back to the rules on cut blocking hadn't changed and blindside blocks hadn't changed. But still, just a very well-rounded room from the redshirt sophomore class on up. Like Boone Myers played a lot of really good football. Ike Butgerd played a lot of good football. And these are young guys. They're playing with Austin Blythe and Sean Welsh and Jordan Walsh and who else? Cole Croston. Just very consistent guys. Played a lot. But, man, that was so much fun.
Oh,
so much fun.
And just as
go ahead.
Like the offensive line play wasn't like super complex. I was just like, we knew, like, for people who don't know, like, when you're with Brian, Brian's really, gosh, how do you even put it? Like, really analytical or really, really detailed. Like, in a film session, like, you could watch 10 or 12 plays of football max, right? That's the max you would ever watch would be 10 or 12 plays. Like a lot of times you're watching 5 or 6 plays,
and this is in an hour and a half film session. You're watching 4 or 5 plays in an hour and a half film session. What are you doing? Dicking around? Well, half of it was dicking around, but the other half, Brian was just like, he stripped it down to the turf. He's like looking at which way your toe is pointing and then like making these analogies to where Landon's dog in his background could understand it. Like, I am not kidding you. You could be the smartest kid in the classroom or you could be the dumbest person with the lowest GPA and he could make you understand how to do a football play. It's wizardry. And that's why Landon and I really do think that he's the best coach in the building. He's really good at his job.
He might have rubbed off. And we're biased, bro.
We are biased, but
it's funny though. A lot of people come on, they're like, as a position coach, he, like, everyone who's had him as a position coach says the same thing about Brian, which is funny. It's tough seeing him go through like scrutiny, but Yeah.
Right.
And it's like one of those
As an
things,
oh, go ahead.
like I just I don't know. I just feel like as a as a as a as an alumni, it's so wild to like be a part of a program that has such a long history. Like to have a history that goes back to the 2000s, like 20 years of history, right? And as an alumni, it's like Brian's an alumni. He's 12 years older than I am. But it's like I know what he went through, right? I know exactly what he went through. He knows exactly what we're going through as an offensive line, and he can connect with us on that level, right? It's like yes, he's my coach, love him dearly, but like I I honestly like see him like a brother. Like all of the former players, like I just see as brothers, right? Because we went through the shit, right? It's not easy. Like college football isn't meant to be easy, man. Like if it was meant to be easy, there would be people recruited, from all age levels, right? Like people, it's hard, right? And if you can make it through 5 years of Iowa football, like at the end of the 4 or 5 years, you have the best of the best human beings that you will ever meet in your life. I promise you that. Like best, most well-rounded individuals, right? And Brian knew that, right? And Brian knew that if he could, uncover the layers under you, right? Dig into you a little bit and like be like, man, hey, you got to keep going. And he would yell at me like, Landan, Paulsen, what are you freaking doing? Blah blah blah, this and that and the other. Every single day it felt like. But when Brian complimented you, you felt like you're on top of the world. Like it's like he meant it. He meant it. He could see the improvement. He was. It was like genuine. It's like, and he did it to everybody. It wasn't like he had any favorites. Everybody was on the same playing field. Nobody got compliments, but when you did get complimented, he called you out and said, "Hey, man, that's a really freaking nice job. You're doing a great job."
Yeah.
But like, for me, Brian like went through it. He went through it, and that's what makes him a great coach. Is that he can relate to us.
Yeah, and I think
right?
like there's a
liking to him.
Sorry, I just interrupted you, but I was just saying there's like a psychological aspect to his coaching, right? He like Landan was saying, not only does he understand the game and like what we're going through, but he also understands the individuals so well. It's crazy. Like he knew what kind of persona Landan and I brought to the table. He knew what Werfs brought to the table. He knew some of the other energetic people. Like he just knew like where they were at any given point during the meeting, and in their time at Iowa, like where they were, and he could just like dig the knife in whenever he wanted to really get the most out of it. I wish everybody could experience his coaching style because, frick, man, it was awesome. It was
Man,
so
and
awesome.
one thing that I'm starting to realize, as I age, is like, man, good leaders. All the good leaders that I've been around have been great teachers. Like all of them. Like all of the great leaders in my life are great teachers. And it's holds true to every single person that I've ever been coached or taught by. It's like I think highly of them, right, as a leader or as a mentor because they were a great teacher, right? And they were willing to pour into me, right? And make me a believer in their ways, right? And just so cool, man.
Oh yeah.
Well,
You know what's funny? You know what's funny is one of the so like you said, like going through 5 years of Iowa football, it gets you ready for real life pretty quick. It puts you ahead of a lot of people. And I always tell people like things I've learned. Obviously details matter. That's the biggest one. Like it's crazy how many like being on time, being early. The honestly one of the biggest things that I've learned was actually from you guys, and I tell people this all the time. The whole fact that like, and this is just because I know you guys are like very curious and you were always big learners, but like you guys knew every single person in our facility's names. And it's when I'm trying to think from the outside, you don't really understand it. Like you don't really think about it. But then like when you are able to, if you go out of your way and be like, hey, what's your name, by the way? And like they tell you your name, and then you see them every day and you say, hey, so and so, and then you develop a relationship with them. Perfect example, Doug, the janitor, the man, coolest dude. You guys are always the first people who saw him. When you see him, you say his name. He knew you guys very well. And when you're on the opposite side of that and someone goes out of their way to be like, hey, what's your name, by the way? And you tell them it, and they constantly start saying your name, and you develop that relationship. It makes you feel good.
Oh yeah, man.
When you're in a like, for example, an environment like that, being able to have a relationship with people that aren't even on the team technically, but they are a part of what we're doing. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel like it is a sense of community, and that's what was so fun. I think when you guys were there, like our team was so much fun and so tight because everyone cared about everyone in the building. It wasn't just in the team. And I think you guys were a perfect example of that. And like, I try to do that in like everyday life, going out of the way. Like if I'm going to a place a lot and I don't know someone's name and I try and learn their name and then try and get a relationship with them, I just think that's such a cool way about life. Like it makes life so much more enjoyable and interesting. Like, why not learn people's names? Why not learn more about them? Like, I can get so deep into this.
Max, I got
it's such a good concept to like learn.
It is.
Yeah, man. And me and Levi have kind of thrown around the idea of starting a podcast, and
you guys should.
You should.
We haven't done it yet, but we have kept this list of people growing up, just from the time we were probably in middle school to now, right? We just keep this list of people, right? And we gauge people based off of this list, and it's called the good shit list. Right? We're like, we have these people on this list that we're like, hey, I met this person today, and like, man, they're a candidate to be on the good shit list, and it's like, when I think of somebody on the good shit list, I think about somebody who was 5 years at the University of Iowa football, right? And I think of like mentors of mine that I just like emulate and like just look up to like no other. But like I read this book this summer called, I just went to this, on the sidewalks, they have those little community book shelves.
Yep.
Went in it, opened it, grabbed this one random book, like don't know why I did. And I opened it to this one page, and it started talking about a dog. And immediately I was intrigued. It talked about how this dog, and you call the dog's name and they're super happy and blah, 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 and whatever. But I took that book home with me and I read it. And the book has actually been in print for over 100 years. It's by Dale Carnegie. It's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I read that book this summer, and it just blew me away. I'm like, this is the epitome of, a good shit, like in my eyes. It's like all the people that I know call people by their first names, right? Yeah. If you call somebody by their first name, like people like to hear their name.
Yeah.
When you say their name, like they're just like instantly like, you remembered my name.
Yeah.
And something as simple as that is like goes such a long way. But that book, man, it was like revolutionary for me. I picked it up and I was like, this is it. And it's been around forever. People just and the other thing that I will say about that is like I always have these battles in my head. Like I'm like doing my own thing, like working out or whatever I'm doing. Like I know I should just go up to somebody and say, hey, I'm Landan. What's your name? I know we're in here all the time, but I don't, and I have these battles and internally. But when I do it, I'm just like, gosh, I'm so glad I did that, man. Like I'm so glad I introduced myself, because now I can greet him or her every single day. Hey, how are you, Greg? Like that's the most recent guy that I learned in the gym. His name's Greg. And it goes a long way, man.
Yeah. Thanks for the compliment, Max. It does mean a lot. It's just, dude, we just love learning about what burns people's fire. What really makes somebody tick. It's just a genuine curiosity. Like you guys starting this thing up and putting, Hawkeye football out there to the entire world and kind of uncovering, everything that it has to offer. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people just look at Hawkeye football and they see black and gold with stripes and jerseys on Kinnick's field, right? And they're watching the game of football. But you guys are uncovering something a lot deeper than that, which I think is just so stinking cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's probably the coolest thing is like, one, your guys' name has been thrown around so often. Like, you guys got to get the Paulsens on. You got to get the Paulsens on. And it's just so funny because, like, every single person, like, you see deeper levels to people. And, like, I didn't know too many of the guests that we've had on. I guess I knew, like, Coop, Spencer, Charlie, Henry, like some of those guys. But the ones that you meet, it's like the reason we really want to do this is, you see somebody off the field. You see like what good, like Sam Laporta, for example, such a fun episode. The guy like didn't know him at all off the field, had never met him in my life. He comes on here. The guy is just electric, just a ball of energy. So fun and is like ready to kill on a football field though. But you get that personal aspect from when they come on the podcast where you're like, wait a sec, that guy's the man,
Absolutely.
It's way bigger than football. And I mean, that's definitely the cool thing that you see, that we've been able to uncover from the podcast.
So awesome.
You know what's, and Landon, going back to what you said, like that whole battle in your head. See, like, and that's something I've been trying to work on recently is I have that battle in my head constantly where it's like, I should totally like introduce myself to that person because we have the same schedule. And it's like, why wouldn't you? And I actually did just meet a guy at the gym who's like this older guy. And we literally, like, I finish out my workout, like I do abs and I stretch. And he's always in the same room as me. And like, we kind of like didn't really socialize. And then like, I saw him a couple of times and I introduced myself. And then you feel good about it. And you see him, it's like, hey, Marty, what's up? Like, you know who it is. Well, when you do it, you feel great. And when you don't do it, you walk away and you're like, why did I not? Like, what was the point of that?
Honey P.
It's crazy. But I'm telling you, like, I tell people that all the time. You guys taught me that. And that is something that, like, when I do it, I feel like exceptionally good about myself because it's like, it just makes you feel good and it just makes it's such like, I don't know, it puts good out into the world, it makes you feel happy.
Man, I'll challenge you. Like if you introduce yourself one time and you forget their name again, just go do it again.
Yeah.
They don't care,
Yeah.
They literally don't care, and that's the only way that you're going to remember it.
Yeah, right.
Is to say it again.
Yeah,
that's really kind of you.
No, absolutely. And I actually I'd love to know what was the name of that book, and this for anyone who's listening too.
It is called "How to Win Friends and Influence People" by Dale Carnegie.
Gotcha.
Interesting read, man.
Yeah.
Super simple read, but it's just like
if people did that in the world, everybody did that in the world, politicians included, on both sides, like we would get somewhere.
My gosh.
You literally would.
It's just too many people that just think that in their head and don't do it. You're right.
Yep.
And when you do that, then you walk away and nothing changes in your life. Whereas, like, you could open your mouth, you could introduce yourself to someone, and all of a sudden, boom, you could have the best relationship with that person for the rest of your life.
Right.
You never know. You never know.
Right. Well, think about the book too. How to Win Friends and Influence People. So how do you influence somebody? How do you influence into a way of thinking? And like the book is really good. But yeah, no, that's a good conversation, guys.
Yeah. It's a great conversation. All right, hey, before you guys leave, you guys have to do this. This is for some of our listeners. This is for just a couple of my buddies, actually, but people will probably think it's funny.
Yeah, man.
You
Step right up.
gotta give me a little auctioneer action.
All right here we got 25, now 30, 25, not a better than 25, but I get 30 to 5, 5 to 35, 40 here, 40 better than 40 to 5, 5, $40 down here, and 45, I got 15 to 45, $45 down here, here we go, $45 better than 45, I got 50, going twice here, where you at? Sold them $50, put it on buyer number, 82,155, 82,155.
That is so money. Gosh, I love that. I freaking miss that stuff.
Oh, I love it, guys.
Is your guys' podcast anywhere podcasts are found? Or where?
It's everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, it's everywhere. YouTube as well. We tweet out the clips. We'll tweet yours out tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's awesome. Guys, anywhere podcasts are found, at Men on Melrose on Instagram. These guys are the real deal.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, it was a blast.
Do it all.
Yeah. Hey,
you guys stay on. We'll end the recording, but if you guys have time, it'd be fun to talk after here. But Levi, Landon, thanks for coming on. We have to do the crawfish boil next year.
Yeah, we'll get one. We'll get one. Something lined up.
Yeah, we'll get the finances in line, and yeah, that would be a blast, man. That's a bucket list item in my life now.
I promise you guys, you'd love Kelowna. Like, you want to talk about small town Iowa? It's a
I promise you, next time I come to Iowa, I'll stop by Kelowna, 100%.
Hey, we've got plenty of rooms.
100%.
Word to God. I'm telling you guys, if this is an open door policy, if you knock on my door, I won't let you in. Just walk in.
I'll make sure to. I'm sure I'll come down. I'll probably visit Shot or something like that, and then we'll shoot over and have a couple.
Bring a case of Busch with us.
Well, you guys are the ones who got me on Pseudo Sue. I forgot about that.
I'm glad, baby.
Kelowna Brewing Company.
Come on, let's do it.
All right, a pleasure, gents. We'll have to have you guys on again soon, but yeah, thanks for coming.
You betcha. Thanks.
Go off.